Boom shakalaka. The market has gone up, down, left, right, sideways, in, out, and all over. People are scared, people are not scared, people are optimistic, people are not optimistic. Today's episode, I am joined by longtime YouTuber, crypto investor, and friend Devere from Crypto FOMO. We are going to be discussing exactly what's going on in the market today, also where the market is likely headed, and some of the best altcoins and Bitcoin to invest in. And if you stay tuned till the end, we have some specific advice for people newer to cryptocurrency, particularly if this is your first bull run. I do have to apologize. There was a little bit of internet lagginess, so there's a little bit of changes towards the end of the video, but the quality remains pretty darn good. So come join me and my buddy Devere while we talk about crypto. Before we do, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, click the notification bell. And also, today's episode is sponsored by SafeCat, a blockchain-based social network for kitten adoption with its own token. SafeCat's fundamental mission is to provide technological and monetary support to kittens and animal shelters all around the world through their advanced mobile application with highly adaptive software for foster homes and animal shelters. Through the SafeCat application, users can generate tokens while helping kittens find a home, shelters can track adopted animals, and vets can check on medical records and vaccinations. SafeCat will also have an interactive map where users can add personalized events to help stray animals. The SafeCat token will be available starting May 28th at 9 a.m. UTC on PancakeSwap. To learn more about SafeCat, head over to their website at safecat.io and join their Telegram channel. Boom shakalaka, what's going on, Devere? Good to see you. These are exciting times in crypto.
I know. Like the entire I know that you've been through like the bear market as well as I was, and now everything was like so different than it is right now. And you see so many things that changed. Like you see the people that actually stuck through, they kind of like became the winners in the space, and I really respect that. Like I had some people that I felt like, oh, they weren't going to necessarily do well with these projects, and they just stuck through it and they proved me wrong. And I have a lot of respect for just the people that survived to see those good times, because a lot of people didn't, right?
Dude, it was hard to make it through crypto winter and the bear market, and like to maintain the belief that it will turn into something. And then like literally overnight, it flipped a switch. It was, it dropped to $3,000, and we were all like, it's been 6,000. I mean, what worse could happen? And then all of a sudden from 3,000 to 60,000 in no time. So it's crazy how quickly things move in cryptocurrency.
Right. And then right now the market crashed to like $30,000 Bitcoin, and people were wrecked, right? People are like wrecked. And it's like, it's funny to think about it. Like one day, like Bitcoin will probably crash to like $100,000 and people will be wrecked, So it's just crazy to see that happen.
Yeah. One of my friends and I were talking about how, there's going to be a day when Bitcoin moves $10,000 in a day, and we didn't realize it would be down.
Yeah, the market has been tough, but overall, man, it's just been beautiful. It's really great to see the space like growing out. Like when we started, like there was no DeFi, there was no NFTs, and now it's like so big. Like you look at how much money is on top of DeFi right now. I think it's like $60 billion. That's like total value locked in DeFi, and you're just like, wow, like this is the most innovative space right now in the entire world. Like there's nothing that's growing at this rate that I'm aware of.
It's really cool that the projects are actually useful. Like we're using blockchain for something that it does really well, which is money. And then we're creating useful projects. Like I remember back the ICO Mania of 2017, where people are like, I like pancakes, so we're going to put pancakes on the blockchain. And like, granted, we have PancakeSwap and everything, but it's DeFi and it's working with money. But people were like, we're going to have pancake tracking software on the blockchain. So every time you go to IHOP or Waffle House, you'll be able to track your pancakes on the blockchain. And it's like, that was 2017. And people were crazy. They're like, this is an awesome idea. I love pancakes. Let me get in on this. Whereas now we have, 2021, where we can actually use it to best use our money in a decentralized manner.
Right. And for me, like, it's interesting. It's almost like everyone is smarter now, because you look at the entrepreneurs, you even look at the YouTubers, like back in 2017, there are very few YouTubers, I think, that really understood like what's a bear market and like some good understanding of technical analysis. And I feel like now a lot of YouTubers like you and I, they just stuck through it and they're just better. And I think all the spaces like that, like you have entrepreneurs that have been around since 2016, 2017, and they've already seen the cycles, that they saw what projects worked, what didn't work. We're kind of seeing some formulas of things that are working. We have some patterns the project can use to build faster. And now everything is just moving faster. Whereas in 2017, it was really like the wild, wild west. Like no one knew what they were doing. And now we're starting to see more understanding of that. It's still a lot of people have no idea what they're doing, but it's so much better. And sadly, like some people like still like mess with liquidity and with leverage too much, and you still see those big washouts, and that's a bit sad. But overall, like the space is growing so fast.
Yeah, I mean, we need to learn our lessons, but it is really interesting that like I remember back in 2017, I was making videos, but I had no concept of where Bitcoin could go. Like McAfee said $1 million, so I was like, okay, cool, $1 million, that sounds good. But now it's like, we have history, we have great indicators, we have all types of guys who actually are able to show where it's going to go and give us a good reason why it's going to be there.
Yeah, everything is much more established. And you look at like, and now you have guys that are like saying, well, Bitcoin is digital gold, so it's like $10 trillion. And then they say like Ethereum is like the entire internet of money. It's like, and you're like, whoa, like how much is that going to be worth? And then you're looking at that, and then some people are saying like that should be hundreds of trillions. So it's like still the early days. I feel like with it's so interesting. I feel like with Bitcoin, like it still has the potential to go another, like where we are right now, we're at like a 35, right? So we have another 30, 60x left. But I feel like with a lot of those projects like Ethereum and then the Ethereum competitors, if they win, like they have the potential to go up like a bazillion times from here. I saw like the co-founder of BitMEX, Arthur Hayes. He's a very controversial figure, but he's a brilliant guy. He published an article saying that if Ethereum will capture certain percentages of revenue that currently centralized finance takes, like if Ethereum will capture those, Ethereum could go like between $100,000. The higher target was like $4 million per single Ethereum if they replaces that. And then you also have on top of it, like you have like the burning of Ethereum, right? So Ethereum, you're going to have less and less Ethereum created. So the total market cap is going to be the same, but there's going to be less Ether, so the price will go higher. So there's like those mind-blowing stuff. And you just feel like all those crazy people in crypto in the early days, like they were right. Like all those people, they're like, you don't understand. Like this is going to be big. Like those guys were right. And we're just starting to figure it out slowly.
I still think it's way too early. Like we don't even know what it's going to become yet. They still compare this to the internet in like the early 2000s or something like that. And if you look at internet then, that was like it took 5 minutes to download like a naked picture on the internet. So like it's not even close to what it is now. But I did watch that episode you did with talking about Arthur Hayes and his Ethereum prediction, and that was like really eye-opening because it shows you how small cryptocurrency really is. And for most of us, it seems like our whole entire life. Like this is everything. But in terms of worldwide money, it's negligible.
Right. It's just a drop in the bucket. Like people are saying like, oh my God, Ethereum is like, where is it right now? It was like $500 billion. $500 billion. That's so much. It's like, bro, did you look at like the other markets outside in the traditional world, outside of crypto? Like this is nothing. Like I heard that hedge funds were saying like, not the hedge funds, but institutions at some point, they were saying like, they looked at Bitcoin, but they said like, it's too cheap. Like we can't buy, like it's not liquid enough. Like it's where we're not looking at that kind of size. Like we needed to get bigger before we start buying it. And that's something that for retail investors or like the average investor, like myself, like that doesn't really register, but it still makes sense. And we're just so early. I mean, can you imagine like governments buying like a little bit of Ethereum or a little bit of Bitcoin? I mean, that's gonna be really crazy. And then also like if you think about like the internet changed information, right? The internet changed how you and I like talk like right now. But crypto like changes money, and money is a much bigger market than information. So so that's why crypto will be even bigger than the internet. And there's like so many cool things you could do with it. Like something that I noticed that if you look at it like companies that as they get older, like the service becomes worse. There's more problems, there's more issues. They just become like this monopoly and they kind of close down. And I think that with crypto, like you could have decentralized organizations that if someone like starts not acting that well, you can just fork the code and you can just add a patch, or you can just independent develop. So in a way, the innovation and the innovative spirit like never dies. Like it kind of shifts hands, kind of like Wikipedia. and he just keeps growing. So that's something I'm really excited about too.
I like that you said that, because one thing that just happened that always reminds me, it's like it's the battle of the good guys versus the bad guys. Like in crypto, we have, you know, people who are trying to push it forward, like Vitalik, like Michael Saylor, and then we have all the bad guys. And like, you know, you ask people about Bitcoin, they're like, oh, that's for criminals and whatever. But like you see that like oftentimes it's a force for good. Like something happened last week where Elon, or a couple days ago, where Elon posted a tweet, Giga Chad Michael Saylor, and like all of a sudden everybody was like, whoa, like don't do that, you know. So it kind of, like you were saying there, it keeps people in check, and it actually, it allows us, instead of electing some officials to do everything for us, it allows us to actually do what we as a collectivist think is right.
Right. And then grow it further. So I'm just really excited because I'm just like tired of like using products that you just see how the company declines. Like you start and it's like this beautiful thing and you have all these beautiful visions for it. And then sometimes it gets bigger and bigger. And like, if it gets really big, like you start seeing like the, you know, like regulators interfere and then everything just goes down. And that's why we really need crypto. And you see it with money. I mean, just the value of money going down and down. And people are like before that, like when people were buying Bitcoin 6 years ago, they were saying like, what if the government will print money like endlessly? What if this is actually going to zero, right? And now like people are buying Bitcoin because they're saying like it's actually going to zero, like the US dollar is actually going there. Like we need to solve it. And I saw like this really smart investor entrepreneur like Balaji is like really known in Silicon Valley, and he said that he thinks that like within 7-8 years, like the US dollar will go to zero or something like near zero. And he had a bunch of predictions that he got right, like with COVID too. And you just look at it and it sounds so crazy, but you try to logically think about it, and it's hard to see how it doesn't happen, you know. And like people don't understand that like things like you start going down slow, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, right? Just like with crypto, is going up slow, going sideways for 2 years, and then 5 months Bitcoin goes from 10,000 to $50,000, right? And
Yeah.
people are saying like, oh, Bitcoin is so boring, it doesn't go up that much, right?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't go up that much when, you know, Dogecoin 80x's in a day or whatever. But um the I mean, you make such a good point there with just fiat going to zero. Like we've seen it happen in Zimbabwe and in Venezuela and in Weimar Germany. And yet we think that this time it'll be different. When we when we print infinite money, we think this time it'll be different. And so it's definitely setting up to be interesting time. Like I just did a mathematical proof in one of my videos that the price of Bitcoin will go to infinity dollars, because with, if you just look at dollars, there's an infinite amount. Bitcoin, there's 21 million. Infinity divided by anything is still infinity. So it's like it has to go to infinity. And so it isn't happening as soon as everyone wants it to happen. Like everybody wants to be a Bitcoin millionaire now, but it's like, just give it 7 years. You'll be fine.
Yeah. It's so difficult for like new investors to just sometimes just buy and hold. Like I see it all the time. Like I remember like people coming to me and saying like Bitcoin is so expensive, it's $5,000. Shouldn't I buy this new coin? Like they said this name of an altcoin that kind of went to zero versus Bitcoin. And I was like, no, like Bitcoin is good, like it will work. And then like 10x later, like you see that it just people like I think it's difficult for a lot of people to hold, and then also understanding the value that it's not just the price that you pay, it's the value that you get. And those are like very different things. So I'm happy to buy something in $1 million instead of buying something in $100,000 if I know that the $1 million is worth a lot more, you know. And I think it's something that a lot of people like really struggle with. And we have so many new investors, like people are like looking at Ethereum, they're saying like Ethereum's like, you know, $2,800. Cardano's like $2, and like, oh my God, Cardano is 1,000 times cheaper. And like Cardano is cheaper, it's not 1,000 times cheaper. But you know, but it's the funny thing is in crypto, when you have 10,000 people go into the space and then they think that way, it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because they pump the price.
Oh,
And
totally. Especially on, I mean, look at like Shiba Inu token. That thing, they're limited supply, only available on a few exchanges, and then all of a sudden overnight everyone bought it. The price popped up, and then everybody thinks it's something great. And it not exactly so. It's just like you said, a self-fulfilling prophecy. But yeah.
It's the power of the internet, man. Like I so underestimated memes. Like I was like watching this, And like, if you look at the Dogecoin chart versus Bitcoin, like you'll see it always has this occasional pump and then goes down and then pump, goes down. Everybody forgets about it. So I was thinking like, oh, this is going to happen again. But then Mr. Elon decided he wanted to pump that to the moon. So everything, you just look at the chart, it's like pump, sideways, 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 mega pump. And you're like, wow, I had no idea.
This oscillation was like far outside of anything that ever happened with Dogecoin. I'm just kind of waiting for somebody to 51% attack Dogecoin and Litecoin. Because, you know, like they 51% attacked Bcash back when it was a fraction of the value of Dogecoin and Litecoin. And it's a pretty easy blockchain to do so on. So like, I'm just waiting. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Right. That's so interesting. And now like you also like in this year, like you see that the battle kind of like between, if you think about it, like innovation is really interesting. Like as an investor, like you always get the best returns long-term investing in innovation, right? Like entrepreneurs, they build stuff, it becomes valuable, it grows, right? So I think over the last 6 years, you see that the innovation in Bitcoin really hasn't been that much. Like Bitcoin is a little bit similar to what it was before. Like it's not such a big deal. But you look at like the DeFi and the NFTs, you look at the Ethereum ecosystem, it's like completely different. So I think that this year you have the question of like, in the last bull market, Ethereum went up almost to Bitcoin, touched it, and then went back down. It came very close to flip it. And then right now, you look at the fundamentals, like Ethereum grew so much in terms of fundamentals and DeFi and all that, and Bitcoin did not. So if before it reached the top, now it should go higher, right? And then like the entire space is going to lose their mind. I mean, Bitcoin maximalists are going to have to really struggle. They're going to have an identity crisis, you know, like thinking like, what, like this thing that I invested so much time in, like it got flipped by Ethereum. So that's very interesting too.
I know it got like super close and super real when Bitcoin price started tanking and Ethereum was going up. I was like, oh my goodness, this is happening. Oh wow. Yeah, because they're definitely going to have an identity crisis. I still think that, you know, Bitcoin still will never be replicated. It's still Bitcoin. There's still a fixed supply. It's still the scarcest asset aside from attention, you know? So I think it's still going to be great, but if you're able to do a lot more on Ethereum, I don't know. I like both of them. I still like the whole space. I mean, I think it really is the money of the future. And why wouldn't you want to be involved with the money of the future? Like, why hold on to the money of the past? Doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah, I still hold Bitcoin, and I'm sure Bitcoin will do very well. I'm just looking at like all those things. I was just like, yeah, Bitcoin goes to 10 trillion. Like, I'm pretty sure about that. But with all of this DeFi stuff, it's like you think about it, like you got banks, you got like angel investing, you got you know, stocks, bonds, like you got all of those things. There's so much more, like all of money basically.
Look,
you just think like, yeah.
The Winklevoss twins were saying there's $17 trillion in negative interest bonds. Like, why on earth would you have your money in a negative interest bond when you could just put it into some DeFi thing and get 10, 15%? Like, why on earth would you even bother doing that?
Because it's all a scam, and it's just magic Ethereum. It doesn't really work, right? That's what people say. Like I always joke about it, like with no coiners, if they ask me about crypto in real life and they don't know, and I make videos about this, I just say like, oh man, it's a scam. It's not going anywhere. I just said like, yeah, it doesn't go anywhere.
It's crazy though, because if you give it time, it just keeps on growing. It very much reminds me of Facebook back when I was in college and Facebook was just coming out, and it was something that only college kids did. And then like it got to be a little bit older folks, and then all of a sudden it was your parents and your grandparents and everyone felt guilted into getting a Facebook account, or they needed a Facebook account if they wanted to connect with you. So like, I feel like we're in that phase right now where they're learning about Facebook, they're learning about Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden they're all going to need to get in, and they're going to feel guilted out because they're going to be the last person on their block who doesn't own cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and then in the middle, like you have people like getting burned out. Like I have one of my best friends, he like bought crypto like near the top, and then he like crashed, lost a lot of money, and then he like just gave up, and then like missed out on this entire bull run, like this cycle. And it's just so sad that you have those people that kind of come in, get burned out, washed out, and then like the new people. So it's like, it's a painful like transfer of money. It's not an easy process, but it is happening, and it's going to happen all the way until it's going to go much higher. Like, I mean, even people watching this video right now, like it's still so early, like to understand it. I mean, if you have like 5, 6 figures in crypto, like right now in 2021, that it's still, you're one of the first people in history to have that. If you look at like percentage of the world population, which is why like crypto investors, they get paid so well over time, just because it's so early. It really is. And then when the market crashes, like the hodlers, those are the people that are literally protecting the price from going to zero because they're not willing to sell. And that's why they're getting paid so well, like long term, because when all of those new people that come, they get washed out, they just stick to it. And when the people make fun of them or people just give them a hard time. I remember when Bitcoin was at $3,000, people were making fun of me. I remember that. They're like, oh, how much money did you lose? I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that hold, like they get rewarded for it, even though it's so difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a game of patience. Like I always remember, there's that the viral video that's like, I'm a teenage Bitcoin millionaire, and I don't think people watch that video because in that video, the kid says, yeah, I held it for 6 years before I became a millionaire. Like most people want to become a Bitcoin millionaire immediately. And I think it's difficult to get rich quick, but you can get broke very, very quick. And especially in these markets with like 100x leverage trading, you can get broke real quick. But it's like what you're saying, where you just have to be patient. Like it's going to happen. Eventually, the masses are going to flood in. And even if you bought the top of the 2017, 2018 bull run, you would still be in profit right now. Yeah, it was a long 4 years. Yeah, it was pretty rough at times. But if you just would have bought and held, you would be in profit already. You would be up way more than you could have gotten a lifetime of investing through traditional investments.
Right. And the best part is if you were like just kept dollar cost averaging, if you just bought, there's some magic to dollar cost averaging that if you, even if you buy the exact top and you keep buying, like your average price is actually going to be pretty low. Like I think it's going to be even like around $10,000 or like even less than that, even if you bought Bitcoin at the literal top.
Yeah,
Because it's like,
I have friends who I got dollar cost averaging at the top of 2020. Like they probably started when Bitcoin was like 15,000, went up to the top and then came all the way down. They're average around $7,000-8,000 Bitcoin. And right now Bitcoin's worth what, 34? That's a pretty good return on investment.
yeah, it's amazing. But then no one's willing to do it. Everyone's like, no, I want to get rich now, which is the Bitcoin. I remember like 2 years ago, I did like a podcast interview with someone and he asked me like, what's the top altcoin? He was really pushing me to give him like the magic, right? The magic sauce. I just said Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And then since then, I remember all the alts that were hot back then, like the vast majority of them underperformed Bitcoin. And especially until 6 months ago. And then now it's changed. And then sometimes people like, it's just hidden in plain sight. It's crazy. The way I think about it is like in 2017, we had all the ICO craze, right? But people that just bought and held Ethereum, Ethereum was the second largest cryptocurrency early 2017. It was at $10. It did 140x in 1 year. So people that just bought and held like the second coin, like they did phenomenally well, even without ICOs. It was just, it was literally like hidden in plain sight and very few people took that.
Well,
So
I think
that's kind of,
it's the gambler mentality in all of us. And I actually heard about this in, I think it was Atomic Habits or a book like that, where he was saying that our ability to want something, the part in our brain that wants something is much more developed than the part in our brain that enjoys something. So like the wanting to pick that millionaire coin, that moon coin, is so much stronger than the just knowing that we have Bitcoin and we're set. And so because of that, it's that gambler mentality, how we just want to pick that one, because if I get that one, then I'll be set. Then everything will be good and will be good forever.
right. It's so funny talking to you about this, man, because like on YouTube, day to day, I just cover the news. I don't really have those conversations. Then like we tend to get caught up in what's happening right now because it's so exciting. But long term, like those things are really important. And I find that like when I meet someone who's a crypto millionaire, like they understand those things. Like they understand that the gambler mentality and they avoid it, you know, and that's probably like one of the biggest like differentiators between someone that has a lot of money in crypto and someone that doesn't. Is just like the risk aversion and understanding that, and they're almost like the safe and steady approach is just also more profitable, but it's not that slow too. Like in crypto, it just goes really fast too, you know. And like you talk to people that are like in their early 20s, they're like multimillionaires, and you're like, wow, like how did this happen? But it's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of just following money. And I learned a lot about money from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Like he's all about financial education. And so I read his books, I read a ton of other books. And it's what you're saying there, where if you want to learn to make a lot of money, you have to follow certain rules. And if you look at the world's richest people, they're not gamblers. they're not generally they're not traders. And so you have to learn these rules of money. And once you learn the rules of money, then you'll be set. And yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that like this guy I know it's a little bit controversial, but like Tai Lopez, he went and he looked at like the world's richest people, and he looked at the most common occupation of those rich people, and he said it was like investor. That was like the one by
Mhm.
far. He
Yeah.
said it was like the highest one. So it's like, okay, you just follow the money. You're an investor. Let's go. We're good. You know, no stress.
Well,
So
that's
that helps them. Like,
they're all investors. If you look at the world's richest people, they buy assets, they avoid liabilities. Uh, and the crazy thing is, we all look at these people like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or these very successful entrepreneurs, and we're like, oh, I need to do that. Entrepreneurialism is somewhat of a gamble, I would almost say, because we hear the stories of these successes. We don't hear the thousands of other people who tried and failed. And so we think that it's like this thing that you need to do. But entrepreneurialism can be very rewarding, but it's also very risky. Whereas investing is not very risky at all, and you're almost guaranteed to win.
right. Yeah, I say that in trading, the success rate is like less than 10%, but in investing, the success rate is 100% if you're smart.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's
it's like,
crazy. That's
why not do it? Yeah.
because I think there's this whole like people just don't like math. I, plain and simple, people just don't like math. Like math and science and evidence just out the window. We are emotional creatures. We're humans. We're not rational. We're totally emotional creatures, and so it's so much more fun to like fantasize about winning $10 million than it is to just well here. Okay, so here's the thing. I found out that if you're from the United States and you live outside the United States, the first $100,000 you make every year you don't get taxed on. Okay,
Right. I know that.
so that means that roughly $30,000 a year the government will give you to live outside the United States. Well, did you know that the course of your working career, that's $10 million? The US government will literally give you $10 million to not work in the United States. But
Wow.
nobody does that. It's crazy.
Oh, I didn't think about that, but now that you say it out loud, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It blew
Just
my
in
mind
general,
when
like
I was compiling the numbers. I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
it's crazy number. Yeah. And I know people that like they did the math. I know that some people even renounced their citizenship and they kind of live abroad. I think for people like once you reach, I think like seven figures in crypto or like something like that, then it's also worth it for you to consider your residency because taxes are going to be like your biggest expense by far. So it's kind of worth looking into it. And now because crypto is going like so many people are going to get rich, like a lot of people are just going to have the power to just choose where they want to live because their crypto is like digital. It's not even in the bank. So they can move it in and out like easily. So what's really exciting is that governments will have to compete kind of like for people, just like businesses have to compete for customers, same thing. So I'm just really excited to see that. And I see it like in friends that they just move to, places that are good for taxes like that. And they have that power. And you see that like the rich people, it's like, okay, here it's not good. So we'll get up and leave, especially if you're young people, they can, if you have a family, it's a different story.
Yeah, there was a really good book I read on that subject called Nomad Capitalist. And he basically talks about go where people treat you best. And that's basically the whole subject of the book. And it's cool because you can see the whole world opening. And it used to be where you couldn't travel with more than $10,000 on a plane. But nowadays, if you remember your seed keys, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world and travel with however much you have.
Yeah,
So,
it's really convenient, yeah, for sure.
yeah, so I'm curious, what do you think about what's going on with the market right now? Because we were talking
So
about
I
that. A
think
lot of people are scared. Yeah.
right. So a lot of people are scared. This is so similar to the COVID crash of March 2020. It's just the same thing. You had people that were over leveraged. You had the same market price action. It's just so similar. I just feel it. Like I can tell from talking to people, it's the same sentiment. I feel like people get completely capitulated like over a long term. And I feel like if we're still in a bull market, right? So I feel like if we were in a bear market, like you would have like this few months of like just death where everyone's like, oh, this is going to zero, this is dead. But now, because I think we're still in a bull market, things still look fantastic to me. We're going to see like a quicker recovery, just like we saw with COVID, because we were at the beginning of the bull market, right? So you saw that quick recovery. So people got washed out and then it went up. And I think that for people to think about that also, like you have to understand that the price of an asset is always going between like oversold, which is like panic, capitulation, and overbought, which is euphoria and people FOMOing with leverage, right? Crypto, like it's so close to oversold right now that I just think like there's so much possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel the same way because 2 weeks ago, when it was Dogecoin Mania, okay, when Elon was going on SNL, it was Dogecoin Mania, and it felt so similar to the top in 2017. Like I remember, I went to this party, and 6 out of 6 people were balls deep in Dogecoin, and I was just like, "Oh, this is interesting." And then like people were talking about the doggy coin; they didn't even know how to pronounce it. And so all of that stuff just made me think like, oh, this could be close to a top. And then the price tanked right after that. But I think we're in a different, well, potentially, at least we currently still are in a bull market, and it doesn't look like we're headed into a bear market. It just needed to shake the trees a little bit.
Yeah, man. I know people that lost like so much money, like leverage trading, and it's so sad. But once in a while, you just need that washout, and then you like you go back up, and then you also see those big boys like Ray Dalio just said that he bought Bitcoin. So you have like a lot of money like waiting on the sidelines that is incentivized to crash the markets like that because that's how they can just like get back in the market. So a lot of the players are looking like, okay, this is legit, let's buy in. So you have people are taking too much leverage. You have the big boys that are looking to buy in at those levels. So at some point, this is going to happen. Okay, I am back.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty crazy that everyone like Ray. Okay, so Ray Dalio buying Bitcoin exactly after it crashes. Was this actually a setup that was perpetrated? Because it was just like it was too convenient that all of this FUD news was waiting for that to happen. Like everybody was talking about how it's going great, and then all of a sudden, all of this FUD news came out exactly the same time, like China, taxes, Elon talking poorly about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, the energy usage, everything all at the same time.
Yeah, it's always the same thing. Like they just use the FUD. So when people don't understand is like when the price crashes, the FUD they will always like try to push it like just not just the price, but also the news. Like so they try to make people think like, oh, the price is so low and the sentiment is so negative, I should sell now, right? They're trying to do that shakeout, and that is so profitable for them. And you just see it again and again, and you just see those big players like popping up, and people need to understand like the fundamentals are great. Like Bitcoin and Ethereum, like in the entire crypto market, like it did not change in the last month. Like nothing changed. It's just the narrative and the price around it and the liquidations. I think for people, it's really important to understand just how liquidations works and leverage. And just when people like they get liquidated, they have to sell, so it causes the price to go down even more. And then they understand that there's like those big boys that are looking to buy more into the market, and they're seeing this amazing opportunity. So then once you understand those powers at play, then those capitulations kind of make sense to you. But people know like buy when there's blood on the streets, but not many people follow that. It's very difficult to do that because once it happens, you're like panicking, right? And you're like, oh no, like is this actually it? But yeah, this is kind of likely to be the bottom. And I talked about even on my YouTube channel, like you can see the pattern on the daily. You can see that there's like you have those 2 wicks to the downside that are getting bought up, right? So the price went down and got pushed right back up twice, pretty significantly. So this is acting as support. And then the confirmation is kind of like that big green candle the next day. It's kind of like really strong. And we've seen that with Bitcoin a few times already. And I think that we're seeing it right now with crypto. So I think the bottom is in, and whoever like panicked sold, panic sold. And I think people know, like the smart money knows that this is a bull market. So even if they make people panic, they cannot do this for much longer. Like the gravity in the bull market is just up, right? So they just know that they need to buy as quickly as they can and then go up. Whereas in the bear market, they can kind of like gradually buy in like slowly without causing the price to go up. But now they know like other people want to buy too, so they have to hurry up. So I think we're going to see quick recovery, and then we'll go back to normal. Like it's just going to be a blip on the radar. Some people are going to be like in 5 years from now, people are going to look at the price. It's going to be much higher, and they're going to be like, oh, I can't believe I got shaken out on this little price action when Bitcoin crashed from like 60 to 30,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny looking back in time, like looking at the 2017 bull market and how small that is now compared with what we're going through now. But I think that leverage trading is definitely making a huge difference this time, something that we didn't see in 2017, 2018, because like the crashes seem exaggerated because of stuff like that. And also we'll see the upside exaggerated as well.
Yeah, and I think for smart investors, it really spells opportunity. Like I know that I will have more money because of this crash, because I had more time to accumulate cheaper. So I think that those crashes are actually a blessing in disguise, and very few people really realize that.
Mhm.
But it's just opportunity. Like you just see that. And for me, like if I invest in startups, like now I know because the market is negative, I know that I can invest more in those startups, or now they really need me. And like you, it really gives you more opportunities. Like, or people on YouTube, they make less videos, or some people like lost a lot of money, so they're quitting on YouTube. And it's just more opportunity. Like there's people don't understand, like in a bull market, it's almost like too late to kind of like do those things, and you just have to like keep going. And like the people that built in the bear market, they're already positioned. And the people that are joining in the bull market, they're going to make some money, but they're probably going to miss out on like the most of the move. So I think those big crashes, they almost give you like a second chance to catch up a little bit and almost like prove that you are like serious about this. It's almost like the market testing you, and you prove like, okay, I'm serious, I'm not panic selling. And then you get rewarded if you buy more, especially.
Yeah. So, last thing, I mean, being a bull market, we have a bunch of new people entering crypto. So, what would be your best advice distilled for people who have been in Bitcoin cryptocurrencies for less than a few months? All the new people coming in.
Probably not invest too much, and don't let it consume your life, and hold assets that you would be comfortable holding for 5 years. Try not to get caught up in assets that you are just trying to make a quick flip on, and think like, if the market crashes tomorrow, like am I comfortable holding this for the next few years? And then just don't overinvest. Like people make that mistake that they go and they put like half of their money in crypto like really fast, and that might work for some. Like I have more than that in crypto, but for the newbies, it's not recommended. It's just going to be so hard on yourself when the market is eventually going to crash. So I think I like to tell people, your first bull market, put like a small amount, put like 10, 20, 30%, whatever. And then in the next bear market, once you've seen through like oh no, it's going to zero, like once you've been through that entire cycle, then you can go more if you want. But don't put on too much weight on yourself too quickly.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I would just add, be patient, because everybody wants to be rich quick, and it's not over at the end of this bull market. It's going to keep on going and going and going. Like this potentially could be the money of the future. We could be seeing cryptocurrencies here for the next 100,000 years, whatever it is. So this is just the beginning. Have patience.
Right, exactly. And yeah, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Randall. It's been a pleasure to share this journey with you and to share it also in the future. We're going to do another one like this soon. And then also in the future, when the price is going to be so much higher, we're going to talk about the amazing opportunity that we saw in crypto today. It's really crazy.
That'll be awesome. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to check out Crypto Love on YouTube. Love his videos. And also as a good friend, I appreciate you, Randall. So take care, everyone. Much love. And until next time, don't FOMO too fast.
Peace, peace.